Well, as we're on the topic, literally the next question is what's changed since coming to Christ? Peter, you just touched on it briefly, right? Is there anything else you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, well, the first thing that everyone needs to understand is you're of a different posture now,
Oh, completely.
right? You no longer speak the language of the world. And what that means is you no longer have a need to converse, or you no longer have a need to interact with that sort of behavior, because you see the damage that it's caused. I know for myself, I know through you, Tony, through you, Stefan, we've seen a fair share of disasters with relationships. We've seen our share with different partners, and it never ended up well. And every time I look at it, it's a big point that I make to people when I speak about it. I go, one, how many people would stay with you if you hadn't slept with them? Let's start there. Every one of them said none. Well, let's start there. So we got issue number one.
Yep.
The fact that they're not even going to stay with you without extracting from you. That's all right. That's good news. So the first issue is don't sleep with people then, because now we know that's where it all starts.
Yeah, because that's what their foundation is.
It's right.
It's a shocking foundation. Terrible foundation.
The second point then comes from the understanding of, well, once you do interact in that way and you bond with another, right? You become one in that process. You have now invited a very scary thing into your life, which is uncertainty of togetherness. When you're not married, when you're not in loving union of each other, there's no commitment there. And people say, oh, I am committed. Oh, I wouldn't cheat on my partner. Well, then why aren't you married? And they'll say, oh, I don't want to get the government involved. Oh, money, this. Marriage has nothing to do with any of those. Yeah. Marriage has everything to do with you two being together, you living life with one another, and you sacrificing for one another.
Yep.
If you're not willing to do that, then the commitment's not there. It's a perceived commitment, because if you can pack up your stuff and leave tomorrow, where's the commitment?
Yeah, it's true.
So
it's good.
It's certainly those are the areas of conversation that I think about and certainly have changed a big part in my life
Since being with Christ.
Yep.
Stefan, what are you?
If you have no, realistically, it's not that you don't have no way out, but your mentality is now fixed towards the idea that this is the person I'm going to be with, and the reason I'm going to be having sex with them, I'm going to be, proposing to them, to marry them, is to be with them for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And it's not, I got to be with them the rest of my life. It's not I got to. It's I want to, because you love them so dearly. And that's the big aspect of it. That's why you commit, because you want to be with him. Same thing with Christ. You commit to him because you love him.
Exactly.
But anyway,
if you love me, follow my commands. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, you'll follow. Yeah.
That's the thing. But the biggest change is sex is the one biggest thing I learned above all else is how that's meant to play out in a relationship and why it's so vital, what it actually means. Coming to Christ, I've learned those values, as well as just in general what it means to be in a relationship, as well as your role in a relationship, the commitment that's affiliated with it, and the responsibilities as well. Because that's the thing, relationships aren't just for the faint-hearted, and not for fun either. They're a commitment of something that you're willing to be putting up with sacrifice, and a lot of communication, a lot of love, and that's not easy. It really is not an easy thing to do. And I've figured that out with all the years of my relationships that I've had a lot. I've never really been committed to anyone, and I could just jump the gun. I couldn't jump the gun. I can tail and run. That's the word.
You can jump ship.
Yeah, that's
at any moment, and that's the big point, right? And that's why you've got people in the modern day. You got young girls, you got young men. They're so nervous, and they're starting to get commitment issues because there is no guarantee of commitment from people nowadays, right? You can be dating them, they jump online, next minute they're talking to someone else, or they've cheated on you, and people talk about cheating, and there's so many forms of that. You could be spiritual, it could be emotional, but a physical act of cheating it cuts so deep in the process. And the point is, if that wasn't a permitted understanding, if you weren't going to be doing that anyway, i.e. you're just seeing one another before you get married, you're not sleeping with one another, you're not going to sleep with other people either, that whole initial concern is gone. So there's such an anxious part attached to it. And when you give yourself over to someone, which you do when you sleep with them in that way, you're sitting there nervous, holding your breath, praying that it's going to turn out well, because if it doesn't,
That's it. Done.
I think we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves right now. Like, what has changed since coming to Christ? I want to say that specifically the understanding of, one, what sex is, two, why it's left to marriage, and three, I've just pulled away from any form of masturbation and any form of visual pornography, even if it's just a simple picture of a girl that is seeming ever so slightly sexualized. No chance. All done. That's gone. Right? I've become. This is really funny. I heard it on another podcast about a Christian saying, he spoke to his psychologist and he's like, I'm supposed to be a serosexual, right? So the only thing I'm supposed to be sexually attracted to person ever is just, it's my fiance, my wife. That's it, right? That's it, right? Which is hilarious to me, but I think it's great. Know it. So I reckon, yeah. But among all other things, I would say that's probably the main things that changed specifically when coming to Christ for me.
It's the understanding.
So, yeah, exactly, the understanding. And there's a fulfillment in that understanding. Even in that feeling I was talking about before, there's a fulfillment in it, right? Yeah. Why was it so wrong? Why did I feel so lost with it? Bang, right there. Yeah. That's why. Now I understand the whole picture. It makes sense.